Okay, in the last class, we have discussed high pressure liquid or fluid. Then there must be some arrangement that through this joint there is through this interface no leakage occurs. So that is why two methods are used. One is called caulking and another one is called blurring. Whatever may be the name, the simple thing is there are two tools and they are hammered so that the two faces just stick to each other. So that is the thing. So this is caulking and this is blurring. We have discussed these two methods in the last class. Now the design of boiler cells. Now we will do it from academic reasons, because normally the riveted joints has been replaced by the weldment joint. But from academic point of view or for academic interest, we will discuss this method, that means designing boiler cells or for manufacturing boiler cells by riveted joints. Now this is a boiler cell. There is a row of rivet and this rivet is butt joint, this is butt joint, and there is a row of rivet, so this is a lap joint. So circumferential joint is butt joint and there is a seam type of joint which is normally lap joint. Now this has been shown to give an idea about the size of the boiler tube. So this is the man height. Now, so this is the seam. This is the seam. So that means this one is the seam and this one is the circumferential joint. Now this is the shape of the boiler cell. That means there is outer strap, this one is the outer strap, this one is the inner strap, and this is the cell plate. So outer strap, inner strap, and cell plate. Now you see there is outer row of the rivet heads, outer row of rivet. This is middle row of the rivet. This is inner row of the rivet. Now this is a butt joint. So from this side there is a plate. That means this one, from this side there is a plate, from that side there is a plate, and they are face to face sticking to each other at this joint. So this is the point. Now there is a outer step, this one is the outer step, and there is one inner step. That means for this dotted line shows the inner step, and this is the cell plate. This outer one is the cell plate. Now you see that this is the you look at, this is the inner row and they are zigzag form. They are made in the zigzag form and outer row, but the outer row, in the outer row you see number of rivets are less. So this is the outer row riveted, outer row, this one and this one. Now this is the middle row, this is the inner row. Similarly middle row, inner row, middle row, and the outer row. Now this is pitch. That means for middle row and inner row this is P by 2 when this is pitch. So the frequency here is more. Okay, so this is the shape of the boiler shell. Now how to design? Now boiler design, for boiler design there is strict restriction, and that restrictions are made by Indian boiler regulation. Since boiler is very important machine element, and failure of which is damaging and very much damaging, so we have to follow the Indian boiler regulations. Now riveted joints are largely replaced by welded joints, I have told you, and this is discussed for academic exercise only. Now boilers are thin cylindrical cells subjected to steam pressure. Two types of joints, one is longitudinal butt and another one is circumferential lap. So I have shown you the circumferential lap and there is longitudinal butt. So two types of joints are there to make a boiler shell. Now for longitudinal butt joint, the T is this, thickness of the plate is this. Now T is the thickness of boiler wall, P1 is internal pressure, Pi is internal pressure, Di is inner diameter of the cylinder, sigma T permissible tensile stress, and this is the efficiency. So this is the expression for thickness of the boiler wall. So this thickness is very important. We have to design for thickness, obviously. Now, since the wall of boiler shell is always subjected to corrosion, obviously, because steam is there, so always subjected to corrosion. So one corrosion allowance is taken over this Pi. Over this Pi, one corrosion allowance is taken, and that value of C is 1.5 to 2. So the T is Pi Di divided by twice sigma T eta plus Ca. So this is added to the calculated value to find out T. So whatever we will find out from this expression, a value of 1.5 to 2 is added. Now this sigma T obviously equal to SUT divided by FOS, and the value of FOS is taken as 4.5, 4.75 or 5. That means high value of FO is taken, and the reason will be very much clear to you. That is, failure will lead to so much damage, and also there is damage of life also. So the factor of safety should be high, 4.5 to 5. So this is the expression for T, and we can find out T from this expression, and Ca is taken, I have mentioned, because there is corrosion and high pressure steam is there, so obviously the steel plate will be subjected to corrosion. So this is the expression.
Sir, generally which material is used for boiler shell?
Obviously steel. Steel plates will be non-corrosive steel plates will be used. Anti-corrosion. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir, stainless steel can also be used. Why is that not used?
Stainless steel is very costly. For using boiler, stainless steel will be costly. Clear? Now
okay,
for rivet diameter, there is no IBR recommendation. Indian boiler regulation, there is no IBR regulation. For T less than 8 millimeter, D is calculated by equating shear resistance to crushing resistance. D is calculated for T less than 8 millimeter. For T greater than 8 millimeter, we use Irwin's formula for finding out D. Okay, so this is recommended, and in any case D should not be less than plate thickness. That is very important. Now pitch of the rivet. I have shown you the pitch of the rivet. That is half inside and outside is P. The pitch of rivets in the middle and inner I have shown you. It is half of that in the outer row. The pitch of the rivets in the outer row is obtained by equating the shear strength of rivet to tensile strength of plate. So by equating these two, we can find out P, and after finding out P, then we can find out the pitch of middle and inner row. Now for boiler joints, now there is both lap joint and butt joint. So obviously there will be some rivets which are subjected to single shear, and there will be some rivets which will be subjected to double shear. Now for this is the expression of shear resistance. Now this is pi by 4 d square tau into n1, and this is, instead of 2 we use 1.875. Now n1 is number of rivets in single shear per pitch length, n2 is number of rivets in double shear per pitch length, and instead of 2, for safety reason, instead of 2 we use 1.875. So this is the convention. So this is the expression for PS, that is shear resistance. Now tensile strength of the plate per pitch length. This expression is already known to you. This is shown in the last class, that is the tensile strength, that will P minus D into T sigma T. Now equating PT and PS, this PT and the PS, equating these two for finding P, that is the pitch. So you equate this one to the earlier equation in the last slide, then we can find out small p, that is the pitch, that is the pitch of the outside plate, outside row. Now according to IBR, each P has minimum and maximum values. So it should be, we should stick to that minimum and maximum values. Now P minimum is 2D, and this is required for accommodating in the rivet head. Obviously without making it 2D, you can accommodate the rivet head. And P max is CT plus 41.28. This C we can get from table. So this is required for providing leak-proof joint. Values of C are obtained from table. So there is IBR recommended table, and from that table we can find out the value of C for getting P max. It's clear how to find out P?
Sir, here why the shear strength is equal to the tensile strength?
Shear strength equal to tensile strength because we like to make it safe for both the strength. Clear? We like to make it safe for both the strength. That means both the stresses, both the stresses. Clear? It should not fail due to tensile stress. It should not fail due to shear stress. So if you equate these two values, that means if you equate P2 and PS, then you will find out a P, and for that P, the plate won't fail both for tensile strength, tensile stress and shear stress. This is my point.
Okay.
Clear?
Okay, sir.
Now transverse pitch. You know what is transverse pitch? When there is an equal number of rivets in each row, equal number of rivets in each row, that means it is for inner and middle row. It is this. For zigzag riveting, I have shown you the zigzag riveting nature in inner rows, inner and middle rows. And Pt is equal to 2d for chain riveting. Okay, when there is an equal number of rivets in each row, this is for zigzag riveting and this is for chain riveting. Now when the number of rivets in the outer row is half of the number of rivets in each of the inner rows that are in zigzag riveting, that means inner rows in zigzag riveting and number of outer rows rivets in the number of outer rows is half of that of the number in the inner rows. When inner rows in zigzag riveting, then it is this. Clear? That means this one is for when there is equal number of rivets. I haven't shown the figure of equal number of rivets. I have shown you when the outer is half of inner. So when this is the case, then this is the value of Pt, this is the value of Pt, this is for zigzag riveting, this is for chain riveting. And when half, the figure which I have shown you, then Pt is this and Pt is this for full number of rivets. That means when the number of rivets, the outer row is half of the number of rivets in each of the inner rows that are in zigzag riveting. P being the pitch in the outer row. So thickness of strap, that means strap which are used. When the straps are of unequal width and every alternate rivet in the outer row is riveted, then this is the strap, wide strap, narrow strap. These are all specifications from IBR. And when the straps are of equal width and every alternate rivet in the outer row is omitted, then this is the pitch. Thickness of strap. So these are all from IBR specifications. So T1 should never be less than 10 millimeter. So this is also a rider. That means T1 should not be less than 10 millimeter. Now according to IBR, ultimate tensile strength and shear strength are 26 and 21 tons per square inch. So accordingly you have to select the material. So select the material so that the strength is this. Sigma UT and sigma US are this. So we have to select the material from that. And so converting it to Newton per millimeter square, these are the values. From 26 and 21, these are the values. And using FOS as 5, this is sigma T and this is tau. Taking FOS equal to 5. In IBR, there is no provision for permissible compressive stress. So compressive stress, there is no provision. So we can use compressive stress is equal to 1.5 sigma T. And therefore, sigma C is equal to, this is the value from this. This is the value. So this is all. So we have shown you so far the design of boilers also, and that design is from academic point of view. And nowadays all boiler tubes are replaced by Weldment joint instead of the elevated joint. So this is all for riveted joint. I will show you some problems in the next class regarding riveted joint, and for all the chapters I'll say you that you just go through all worked out problem in the book. Whatever book you follow, you just try to follow the worked out problem there. Still I will show you some problems and that will be by handwritten, and this is not with me now. Okay. Now we'll start the oilment design. So design of riveted joint is okay, and I tell you one point, that means I have shown you the design of threaded joint for eccentric loading. So similar will be the process for design of riveted joint subjected to eccentric loading. So the equations will be same. In the earlier case, considering the forces, considering the primary and secondary shear forces, you designed the bolted joint, you found out the diameter of the bolt. In this case, you have to find out the diameter of the rivet. So this is the thing, but the problem will be, problem is given both for problem is given for eccentric loading, both for rivet and thread. This is my point. So don't take it in the sense that there will be no problem of eccentric loading for riveted joint. This is my point. So design of welded joint. Now welding is very commonly used permanent joint. This is also a permanent in joint, and it has secured a prominent place in manufacturing machine components. Okay. Now have you done welding in any of your workshop class? I think you have done already.
Yes.
Okay, so you have some idea about welding.
Very
And,
little.
and have you studied in your workshop class welding? In workshop theory class?
Actually, sir, before the completion of the welding chapter, the lockdown started.
Oh, everything is locked down. So,
Yes.
You have to study welding joint. Okay, because it is very important thing. So study it from book. In this class, there is no scope for discussing the process of welding, the workshop process of welding. This is not. This class is not for that. This class is for the design of weldment joint. That means stress considerations, etc. Very obviously. Now, welded joint has the following advantages. Its efficiency is greater than 95%, and it may be sometimes 100%. Compare it to 70 to 80%, something like that for riveted joint. So it is greater than 95%, something it may be 10% also. So compared to other types of joint, welded joint has higher efficiency in that way. Also the manufacturing is very easy. For riveted joint, if you see the structure of Howrah Bridge, and if there is any problem, that if there is any repairment of the structure, so far as joint is concerned, so many things have to be lifted there. Okay, but for weldment joint, these things are the accessories to be lifted, number of accessories is less. এতক্ষণ পরে কেউ ক্লাসে ঢুকছে দেখো, হ্যাঁ সৌরভ পাত্র, তাকে কি ঢুকতে দেবে তোমরা? হোয়াট ডু ইউ লাইক? হ্যাঁ, হোয়াট ডু ইউ ওয়ান্ট? আই আস্ক ইউ। হ্যাঁ,
দিয়েই দিন স্যার।
দিয়ে দিন স্যার, ঠিক আছে দিয়ে দিলাম, আমাদের কথা। আচ্ছা, সো কিছুক্ষণ পরে আর মাউস কাজ করে না। এটা যখন হট হয়ে যায়, মাউস কাজ করছে না কেন?
স্যার আপনি পাওয়ার পয়েন্ট যেখানে লেখা ওই ওপরের ওই বারটাতে একবার ক্লিক করুন, ডিজাইন অফ ওয়েল্ডম্যান জয়েন্ট যেখানটা লেখা, অন্য একটা ট্যাব সিলেক্টেড হয়ে আছে বলে মনে হচ্ছে, ওই মাথাটায় আর কি। হ্যাঁ
কোথায় না, কিছুই সিলেক্টেড নেই তো।
একবার একটু রিফ্রেশ করে দেখতে।
এই কাজ করছে আবার, আর এখন আমাকে আবার ওটা বের করতে হবে ফাইলটা। What is the problem? F5 না? Yeah, F5 না? রান করে কিসে?
রিফ্রেশ বাইরে একবার রাইট ক্লিক করে রিফ্রেশ করে নিতে পারেন।
কাজ করছে না কেন? মাউস তো কাজ করছে, কিন্তু এটা কাজ করছে না।
সে ওপরে
কাজ করে F5 তো?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ এমনি F5।
ও এখন সরি, ওই জন্য কাজ করছিল না, সরি। আচ্ছা, okay. So since the added material is minimum, the joint has a lighter weight. The added material is very minimum. We have done the workshop class, but in case of rivet joint, you see for bar joint, so there are two plates, then there are two steps for rivet joint, but and similar for the threaded joint. But in case of welded joint, there is no step required. So one step over another, nothing is required like that. So since the added material in that way, added material is minimum, the joint has lighter weight. Welded joints have smooth appearances because for the riveted joint there are rivet heads over the plates. On the surface of the plate there are rivet head, but here there is no rivet head, so it is very smooth. Due to flexibility in the welding procedure, alteration and addition are possible. That means there is welding procedure has some flexibility. So you can add more material, you can add this material, or you can add that material. So there are so many flexibilities in case of welded joint, and that is more than riveted joint. And it is less expensive. Forming a joint in difficult locations is possible through welding. That means I was just referring a structure like Howrah Bridge or any structure like that. So lifting the accessories is easy than the weldment joint. So this way welding is more suitable, more acceptable, and more particularly for the point number 1. Now types of welding. There are two types of welding process. Okay, two types of welding process are there. Now one is liquid state fusion welding, which you have done, liquid state fusion welding, and another one is solid state welding. So two types of things. This is very important. Solid state welding, very interesting. So first of all we discuss it, that is liquid state fusion welding. Now heat is added to the base metals, which we have done. Heat is added to the base metals until they melt, Then some filler material may also be supplied. Upon cooling, strong joint is formed. So this is the form of welding. Now how the heat is added? Heat is added by different method. One is electrical heating. Electrical heating means arc welding, resistance welding, induction welding, and you have done arc welding, I think. So electrical heating method, arc welding, resistance welding, and induction welding. Now chemical welding, that is gas welding. You have done this. So that is chemical welding, gas welding, and thermite welding. Now another one is laser beam welding. That means heat is generated by laser beam. And the last one mentioned is electron beam welding. By passing electron beam, heat is generated and the material is molten. So these are the forms, or these are the forms of adding heat. Okay, and the liquid state friction welding is done majorly by these 4 type of methods. Now solid state welding is interesting in the sense 2 plates are taken and mechanical force is applied, and the mechanical force, the value of mechanical force is such that it becomes in a plastic state. Okay, so it deforms, and beyond the elastic limit, beyond the plastic limit, then plastic state is arisen. When plastic state reaches, then bonds are then formed through molecular interaction. Now one is cold welding, another one is diffusion welding, and third one is hot forging. So these are the methods for solid state welding: cold welding, diffusion welding, and hot forging. So these are the 2 types of weldment joint. So liquid state, solid state. Here heat is added for making the metal melt, and then the welding is done. And method of giving heat are this, and here it is in cold state and no heat is given. But hot forging, for hot forging some heat is given. So these are the but in case difference between this and hot forging is here some material is added. Okay, but for hot forging no material is added from outside. Now typical welded machine components are by weldment. What type of machine components are manufactured? Pressure vessel, steel structure. Now flanges welded to shafts and axles. That means the flange, crankshafts, heavy hydraulic turbine shafts, large gears, pulleys, flywheels, gear housing, machine frames and bases, housing, and mill stands. So these are different uses, major uses, industrial uses for welding. Okay, these are the thing, and there are so many others for use of welding.
Sir, in housing and mill stands, which kind of field it is?
Housing, that means in your household. In houses there are some welding parts. Can you name anything that where welding parts, weldment joints are used?
Sir, in windows, in some case of
grill. Huh?
grills, yes sir.
So for housing, any type of housing, that means which covers something, which houses something, that can be done by weldment joint. Now, welded joint symbols. The symbols, that means you need not write these names, but you can only symbolize the weldment joints by this or this is illustration and these are symbol. Okay, so if you use this, then it is butt weld between place to raised ridges, etc. Raised ridges. Now squared butt weld, this is the symbol. Single V butt weld, that means this is one plate, this is another plate. They are placing face to face each other or butt joint, and a V groove is formed in this manner, and the welding is done here. That means the input material is molten in the molten form. It is put there. Okay, and its symbol is this. Similarly, single bevel bar. So single bevel bar, single V bar with broad this one, single bevel bar weld with broad root. So these are the different types of weldment, and these are the symbols. Okay, so this will get in any weldment chapter in any book. Now types of joint. This is very important. Types of joint will be the same, but there are different names. Now butt joint. A joint between two plates lying approximately in the same plane, like this. Okay, like this. Now here a square form of welding, square form of molten metal. Now a V type of formation is there, single V. Now V from both ends, from this end and this end, so double V. Now it is also a V joint, but there is a backing strip so that molten material cannot go down, and this is also, this plate is also welded here. Okay, so V joint with backing strip. This is the backing strip. Now another one, the lap joint is called fillet joint. It is butt joint, but for lap joint it is called fillet joint, fillet or lap joint. A joint between two overlapping plates. This is two plates are overlapping, and here welding is done. Two plates are overlapping, but it is single transverse. That means load is applied in this manner, so it is transverse. In this case, it is not transverse. If load is applied here, load is applied here. It is not transverse, but it is transverse. You see, load is applied here, and it is double transverse. Here is welding, here is welding. Now this is fillet. Fillet. You see the type of fillet. So this is one plate, this is another plate, and the fillet joint is done here. Double parallel. Now another one, that is corner. This is one plate, that is another plate, and a corner joint is formed in this manner. This is welding. Edge joint. That means this is one plate, this is another plate. Only here there is joint. It is not required. That means throughout the face there is joint, but you join here only. So edge joint. T joint, a T formation. T joint. So these are the types. Now cross section fillet welds. So this is one angular form. There is a difference between this and this. So this is normal, this is convex. Say cross section. Cross section of fillet weld. This is the cross section of fillet weld. Okay, this is the cross section. So it is convex cross section. It is normal cross section when when the angles are 45 degree here. It is normal cross section. This is the cross section of fillet weld. These three are the types, and this is the cross section of fillet weld. Is it clear? Okay, types of joint. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now strength, design consideration, strength. Now strength of a joint gets affected during welding process mainly by the following factors. That means when welding process is done, strength is affected. Okay. Now how? Crack initiation. Cracks form while cooling a melted metal. That means when cooling is not uniform, the heat flow is not uniform, then cracks may generate. So crack initiation. Residual stress due to inhomogeneous heating of the base metal. That means heating is not homogeneous. Then residual stress may exist upon cooling. When it is cooled down, there may be residual stress in the joint, and this residual stress is added upon the external stress due to external load. Metallurgical transformation. In heat affected zone, metallurgical properties may change leading to weakening of the joint. Obviously you know the iron carbon diagram. So metallurgical property will change when heat is applied. Okay. Now defects. Incomplete penetration, that means when the filler material is inserted by the rod electrode, so penetration is incomplete, porosity may be generated, there may be slag inclusion, and all these things affect the strength of a welded joint. Okay. Now stress concentration. Abrupt change in the geometry after welding. That means when you apply the filler material, then there is abrupt change of geometry, and due to that abrupt change of geometry, stress concentration obviously caused. Stress concentration is caused due to the abrupt change of the geometry, that is due to the filler material. Now strength from design point of view. So bar joint, single V bar joint, and the force is applied in this manner. Okay. Then what happens? Now the nomenclatures are: L is length of weld, this is weld, length of weld, H is throat of the weld, and this H is equal to normally the thickness of the plate. P is tensile stress, sigma T allowable tensile stress, Q plate thickness. So for this, the equations will be this: sigma T will be equal to H multiplied by L. So this is the strength, that is P by TL when H is equal to T. So P is this thing. Now this is efficiency, less than 1, but almost equal, it may be almost equal to 1. But if welded joint is properly done, you can assume this even greater than 1. Greater than 1 means, what is the meaning of significance of greater than 1? Can you tell me?
Sir, then the strength of the joint will be more than the base metal.
Exactly. Very good. So strength of the joint is higher than the base metal. That is the plate. That is, strength of weld becomes equal or higher than the strength of plates. Okay. So this is very interesting, and this you cannot achieve in riveted joint. That is why it is mostly accepted now. So this is one type of joint. Parallel fillet joint. So this is one plate, this is another plate. So obviously it is fillet joint means lap joint, and on one side that is welding, it may be on other side also, and this is the cross section of the welding. This one in exaggerated form, this one is exaggerated form. Okay, this is T, this angle is 45 degree. Now this is the right angle triangle. Now H is equal to leg equal to plate thickness, this H. this H, that means this one, this is normally equal to the plate thickness. T is throat of oil. This is called throat. This one, this length is called the throat of weld. Minimum cross section of weld at 45-degree location. Minimum cross section, that is T equal to H cos 45 degree, that is 0.707 H. Now shear stress is obviously TL, so it will be equal to 0.707 HL. So P is this. Now shear failure occurs this joint at this position at 45-degree line. Shear failure occurs. That is the minimum cross section. Okay. So since it is the minimum cross section, the shear failure occurs at this region. Now for parallel fillet on both sides, this is on single side, this is on both sides, there is also. So for this, the equation will be this. So for single weld, the equation is this. For parallel fillet on both sides, it is parallel fillet on one side, it is parallel fillet on both sides. So P is equal to 1.414 HL tau. Clear? Up to this clear? Anyone respond?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now transverse fillet. When the load is applied in this manner, the joint is here, so it is transverse. Okay. Now this is P, this is P, this is T, that is throat, this is H. H is the plate thickness also, and this is H. It is normally equal to, made equal to the plate thickness. It is mentioned in the earlier slide. So throat is the minimum cross-sectional area of the weld. So it is the, when it is 45 degree, then it is minimum. There is a significance of 67.5. I will tell you later. So failure due to tension occurs at that section, at the minimum cross-sectional area. So sigma T is equal to P by TL. This we have already faced it. So this is for single weld, this is for double weld. This one is for single weld, this one is for double weld. Now the weld is subjected to normal stress, shear stress, and bending moment at throat. Normal stress, shear stress, and bending moment at throat when it is subjected to this type of load. Theoretically, this thing is important. Theoretically, the maximum shear stress area is at 67.5 degree. Theoretically, it is assumed that the stress in the transverse fillet is shear stress in the throat. For the ease of design, the same equation of parallel fillet weld is used here. Instead of 67.5 degree, for ease of design, we consider it as 45 degree and design is done. Okay. Logic ki hobe? Tar 67.5 না করে যদি 45 ডিগ্রি করি তার লজিক কি হতে পারে বলো তো? ভেবে বলো।
Shortest distance.
Theoretically, the maximum shear stress is at the area 67.5 degree, but instead of 67.5 degree, we take it as 45 degree for ease of design to think of and reply later. Now, so the same equation is used. Okay, instead of taking it 67.5 degree, 45 degree is used, and the equation will be take the same, take this set. Now combination of transverse and parallel fillet welds. So transverse and parallel. So it is a combination of transverse and parallel fillet welds. Clear? When it is subjected to load like this. So this is L1, this is L2. Clear? Now tensile strength of plate. Tensile strength of plate will be this thing. It's very simple. Now strength of transverse fillet. Strength of transverse fillet is this. For this one, single weld. So this one, so it is this. HL1 sigma T. Now strength of double parallel fillet. Double parallel fillet. You accept it. So it is this thing. Okay. So the design equation will be P equal to P1 plus P2. So from this P equal to P1 plus P2. From this equation, we find out the necessary thing. So this will be the design equation for transverse fillet weld. Okay. So let us stop here. So anything to question up to this? It's clear. Anyone respond? That's clear.
So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
পড়তে হবে।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ পড়তে তো হবেই, না পড়লে কি করে হবে? এগুলি আমি নোট পাঠিয়ে দেবো, এটা শেষ হলে এই নোটটা পাঠিয়ে দেবো, বা আজকে
Okay,
পর্যন্ত যা যা হয়েছে বা পুরো নোটটাই আমি পাঠিয়ে দেবো, বাড়িতে পড়তে হবে তোমাকে। আমি
স্যার,
ওয়েল্ডিং
বলছি
জয়েন্টে
যে
পুরো নোটটা পাঠিয়ে
স্যার এই ফিগারটাতে স্যার
দেবো। বলো।
স্যার এই ফিগারটাতে স্যার এইচ আর টি এর ডিফারেন্সটা কি স্যার? মানে দুটো তো অলমোস্ট মানে সেম থিকনেসটাই ডিনোট করছে।
না 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 না, টি হচ্ছে এইটা।
হুম,
এইটা হচ্ছে টি। এই যে বুঝতে পেরেছি,
আচ্ছা।
এইটা এইচ আর টি হচ্ছে এইটা। বোঝা গেল?
ওকে স্যার, আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ,
এইটা টি,
ওকে ওকে, হুম,
ঠিক আছে, আর এইটা এইচ, এই যে এইচ।
ওকে।
Okay, so let us stop here. Okay, thank you.